Right. So you wanted to crack the code of power.
Mm-hmm.
We took a deep dive into Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
And let me tell you,
Oh, yeah.
this book,
Uh-huh.
it's like a playbook for
Yeah.
how to play the game of influence
It is.
with all of these historical examples that are fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
but also kind of terrifying
Yeah.
at the same time.
I mean, it's not just about being ruthless, though. It's about understanding the subtle ways that people try to gain and keep influence in any situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Greene just gets right to it.
Oh, yeah.
Law number 1,
Okay.
never outshine the master.
Right.
He tells this story about Nicolas Fouquet,
Okay.
who threw this
That's
extravagant party
Lave.
to try to impress
King Louis XIV.
Louis XIV. Yeah, but it totally backfired.
It did.
Big time.
So
Yeah.
Fouquet made a classic mistake here.
What was that?
You know, he forgot that making your master feel insecure is a surefire way to lose power.
Right. So you want to flatter, but it's got to be subtle.
It does.
Right? You never want to make the person at the top feel threatened.
No, never.
Have you ever seen that happen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where someone tried to steal the spotlight
Mm-hmm.
and just crashed and burned.
And burned. Yeah, we've all seen that.
Totally.
So law 1 is about managing up. But law 2 tackles a different challenge, navigating friendship and rivalry.
Oh.
Greene says, never put too much trust in friends.
Oh, wow.
Learn how to use enemies.
Wait, use your enemies.
Use your enemies.
How does that even work?
Well, so Greene, he contrasts the story of Emperor Michael III, who was murdered by his best friend,
Oh, wow.
with Emperor Sung of China.
Okay.
Sung turned his enemies into allies by being super strategic.
Okay.
He would spare people who plotted against him.
Wow.
And even show them kindness.
So it's like counterintuitive.
It is, right.
Yeah, you want to keep your enemies close?
Yeah.
But not that close.
Yeah, but think about it.
Okay.
He disarmed his opponents by being unexpectedly generous.
Right.
So they felt obligated to him.
Oh.
It's almost like a power move disguised as mercy.
Yeah.
Have you ever, befriended a rival and it was actually beneficial?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to think about that one.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on.
Yeah.
Law 3, conceal your intentions.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is where things get a little sneaky.
A little sneaky.
Yeah.
Okay, so Greene uses Otto von Bismarck as an example here.
Right.
Bismarck, the architect of a unified Germany, he was like a master manipulator.
Totally.
Controlling information, smoke screens, orchestrating things behind the scenes.
Like when he wanted to provoke Austria into war.
Yeah.
But instead of just saying that,
Right.
he was praising them publicly.
Right.
But secretly making war inevitable.
Secretly maneuvering. Yeah.
I mean, that is some strategic deception.
Strategic deception.
Out there.
And it's a tactic that's still relevant today.
Oh, yeah.
You know, not just in politics.
Oh.
Think about marketing campaigns
Oh, yeah.
that make you crave a product without explicitly stating its benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Or social media where people carefully curate their image to project a certain persona.
Yeah.
Revealing too much can weaken your position.
Totally.
Oh.
So the takeaway is think several steps ahead and control the narrative.
Control the narrative, yeah.
Don't show all your cards too early.
Don't show your cards.
Right.
Okay. So Law 4 encourages us to always say less than necessary.
Okay.
This one is all about the power of silence.
Right.
Greene uses the Roman general Coriolanus as an example.
Okay.
Brilliant military leader.
Mm-hmm.
But he tended to overshare and boast.
Oh.
And that was his downfall.
So it's like better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's really about listening more than talking.
Yeah.
Right.
By being quiet, you create space for others to reveal themselves.
Right.
Think about it. Haven't you learned more about someone by just listening to them?
Oh, for sure.
Than by dominating the conversation.
Yeah. Sometimes the most valuable information comes from the things people don't say.
Exactly.
Okay. So now we're moving into 3 laws.
Yeah.
All about reputation.
Okay.
Yeah. Starting with Law 5.
Right.
So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life.
Guard it with your life.
And he illustrates this with a story about General Lang.
Okay.
From China's War of the Three Kingdoms.
Yeah.
Lang was faced
this much larger
Enemy force.
led by Sima Yi.
Right.
But instead of panicking,
Mm-hmm.
he used his reputation.
For invincibility.
Yeah.
To his advantage.
He staged this whole scene
Oh, wow.
where he appears alone on the city wall.
Oh, really?
Playing a lute.
No way.
While his soldiers hid.
So he just pretended to be totally chill.
Exactly.
But secretly preparing for battle?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it worked.
Really?
Sima Yi was so intimidated.
Yeah, wow.
He ordered a retreat.
Wow, talk about mind games.
Mind games, yeah.
I mean, it really makes you realize how much power is in the stories we tell about ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
And the image we project.
And it's so relevant today with personal branding.
Totally.
And how easily reputations can be built or destroyed online.
Yeah, it's like we're all constantly curating our online persona.
Oh, right.
Trying to shape how other people see us.
Yeah, it's like we're all in this big production,
Right.
just like General Lang.
On the city wall.
Yeah.
Okay, so reputation is everything.
It is.
What's the next law?
Okay. Law 6, court attention at all costs.
Oh, this brings to mind P.T. Barnum.
P.T. Barnum.
The master showman.
The master showman. Yeah.
Didn't he say
I think he did.
there's no such thing as bad publicity?
He did say that. Yeah. He understood that attention, even the negative kind, can be leveraged for power.
Right.
Master of spectacle, outrageous stunts, publicity.
Keeping his name in the headlines.
All the headlines.
And it worked.
Yes, it did.
He created this brand.
Larger than life.
That was larger than life, yeah.
And you see it today.
You do.
With social media influencers.
Oh, yeah.
Doing these extreme things.
Totally.
To gain followers and stay relevant.
Yeah, it's all about grabbing the spotlight.
Grabbing that spotlight.
Even if it means being controversial.
Yeah, but it makes you think.
Yeah.
How much of that is genuine?
Right.
And how much of that is calculated for maximum impact? But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
You got to stand out.
You do.
It's more important than ever.
Especially in a world.
Especially?
That's saturated with information.
That's right.
Yeah.
You almost have to be a showman to get noticed.
Even in the corporate world.
Even in the corporate world.
Right.
And that brings us to Law 7.
Okay.
Get others to do the work for you.
Okay.
But always take the credit.
Oh,
and this is where things get a little ethically
murky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The story of Nikola Tesla is the perfect example.
Oh, poor Tesla.
Poor Tesla.
Yeah.
He was such a brilliant inventor.
Yeah.
But he got taken advantage of.
All the time.
All the time.
By more savvy businessmen.
Yeah. Edison Westinghouse.
Yeah. Using his ideas.
Using his ideas.
And inventions.
To enrich themselves.
To enrich themselves.
Yeah.
And he was left with very little.
Very little.
To show for it.
It's a cautionary tale.
It is.
About knowing your worth.
Yeah.
And protecting what you create.
Yeah.
It also makes you think about delegation versus exploitation.
Right.
Have you ever seen someone take credit for someone else's work?
Unfortunately, I think that happens more often than we'd like to admit.
More often than we'd like to admit.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even when you're working on a team, you have to be aware of these power dynamics and make sure everyone gets the recognition they deserve.
Everyone gets recognition. Okay.
Now let's dive into a few specific tactics that Grene outlines.
Okay.
One that stands out is Law 8.
Okay.
Make other people come to you.
Okay.
Use bait if necessary.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of bait are we talking about here?
Well, Grene uses Napoleon's downfall as an example.
Okay.
After his first exile, Napoleon was lured back to France with all these promises of support. It seemed like the perfect opportunity to regain his power.
But it was a trap.
It was a trap.
Yeah.
He was defeated and exiled again.
Right. So Napoleon's downfall shows the power of patience.
Yeah.
And strategic maneuvering. Right. So instead of chasing after power, you create the right conditions.
You create the conditions.
And let your opponents come to you.
That's right.
Have you ever used this bait and wait approach in a negotiation? Would it have given you an advantage?
It's a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
I'm about to try that next time.
Okay.
I'm in a negotiation.
Let's talk about Law 11.
Okay.
Learn to keep people dependent on you.
Okay.
Michelangelo's relationship with Pope Julius II.
Okay. Michelangelo, the artistic genius?
The artistic genius.
Yeah, I love his work.
I mean,
but I never thought about the power dynamic.
The power dynamic.
Between
the two.
Right.
Well, Michelangelo was so talented. And he knew it.
Right.
And he used his skills to make himself indispensable to the Pope.
Wow.
So he actually had quite a bit of leverage.
So be so good they can't ignore you.
That's right.
And that gives you power.
That's right.
Okay.
Cultivate those skills and knowledge that make you uniquely valuable.
Yeah.
And people will listen and give you what you want.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
What skills do you have that make you irreplaceable in your field?
It's a good question.
That is a good question. I have to think about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about a more ruthless example. Law 15.
Okay.
Crush your enemy totally.
Okay. And this one is illustrated
by the rise of Empress Wu of China.
Empress Wu. She started as a concubine.
She did.
Right?
She did.
And then became the only female emperor in Chinese history.
The only female emperor.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's incredible.
And she got there through cunning and ruthlessness.
She eliminated
anyone
who stood in her way.
That's right.
Even her own children.
Yeah. Even her own children. Yeah.
I mean, that's
a pretty extreme example.
It's an intense example, but it shows that in power struggles, leaving even a little ember of opposition burning
can be dangerous.
Can be very dangerous.
Okay.
So sometimes you have to be decisive and cut off any chance of them coming back to haunt you.
Okay, that one's a little intense.
A little intense, yeah.
Can we move on to something a little lighter?
Okay, let's explore Law 21.
All right.
Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark.
Okay.
Grene tells a story about these two prospectors who conned wealthy investors.
Really?
Into buying a worthless diamond mine.
So they pretended to be
these simple
country bumpkins
to trick sophisticated financiers.
Exactly. They played on people's assumptions.
Right.
And used their seeming naivete
as a weapon.
Yeah.
Wow. So
it's a classic example
it is
of how underestimating your opponent
can be a fatal mistake.
Can be fatal.
Right.
Have you ever been underestimated?
Yeah.
And did that actually work to your advantage?
You know, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I think there have been times when people have misjudged me and it's actually given me an edge.
Yeah, like they let their guard down because they didn't see you as a threat.
Exactly.
So we've covered quite a few laws.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back.
Okay.
And consider the bigger picture here.
Right.
What are some of the overarching themes that emerge from the 48 Laws of Power?
Okay.
What does it all mean?
What's it all mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've explored a bunch of these power laws.
Yeah.
And it's clear that Grene doesn't shy away from the darker side of human nature.
No, he doesn't.
But what are some of the big takeaways here?
Well, I think one of the biggest is the nature of power itself. Grene seems to be saying that power, it's not inherently good or evil. It's more like a force.
Okay.
A tool that can be used for different purposes.
So it's not about being a good guy or a bad guy.
Right.
It's about understanding how power works. And using it strategically.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another big theme.
Okay.
The ethics of manipulation.
The ethics.
Because a lot of these laws involve deception.
A lot of deception.
And strategic maneuvering.
Right.
And it can get pretty ethically complicated.
Yeah, I mean, some of these tactics seem like they could be used for bad.
Right.
Even if Grene's presenting them in a historical context.
Yeah, where's the line?
Yeah, where's the line?
Between being strategic and straight up manipulating people.
Right, exactly.
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
Grene doesn't give us any easy answers.
Right.
Which is part of what makes the book so interesting.
Yeah.
He gives us these laws, often with really extreme examples, and leaves it to us
to figure it out,
to wrestle with those moral implications.
It's like he's giving us a map of a dangerous jungle.
A dangerous jungle, yeah.
But not telling us which path to take.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
And another key theme is the power of perception.
Okay.
How you present yourself. The image you project can be just as important as your actual abilities.
Like the story about P.T. Barnum.
Exactly.
He was all about creating a spectacle and controlling the narrative.
Controlling the narrative.
And General Ling using his reputation to intimidate his enemies.
Yeah, it's all about appearances.
It is all about appearances.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, some of these laws are a little unsettling.
A little unsettling.
Right? Is it really okay to be this calculating and manipulative?
Well, that's where the criticism of the 48 Laws comes in.
Okay.
Some people think it's too Machiavellian, too cutthroat.
Yeah, it's not your typical self-help book.
No, it's not.
It doesn't exactly inspire warm, fuzzy feelings.
But that's why it's so important to approach the book with a critical eye.
Yeah.
It's not a step-by-step guide to manipulating people.
Okay.
It's more like a framework for understanding how these power dynamics work in history and in our everyday lives.
It's like a crash course.
It is.
In the unspoken rules of the game.
The unspoken rules, yeah.
But we have to decide.
We do.
How we want to play.
Yeah. Are we going to use this knowledge for good or for ill?
Right. And it's important to remember
it is
that the laws themselves can be interpreted
in different ways.
In different ways, right there.
Take Law 36.
Okay.
Disdain things you cannot have.
Okay.
Ignoring them is the best revenge.
Right.
Some people might see that as a way to detach from things you can't control.
Right. But you could also see it as devaluing someone else's goals or dismissing something that's important to them.
Exactly. So it all depends on the context and the intention.
Right. So I think the real value of this book is in the discussions it starts, the self-reflection it encourages.
It makes you think.
It makes you think.
About power.
About power. Yeah.
And how it operates in the world around us.
Exactly.
So I have to ask, what's your take on the 48 laws?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
To be aware of these laws.
I think knowledge is power.
Okay.
And understanding these laws can help us understand human behavior and motivation.
Okay.
But it's also really important to use that knowledge responsibly and ethically.
We don't want to turn into Machiavellian masterminds.
No.
Plotting and scheming our way through life.
But being aware of these laws can help us recognize when they're being used against us and give us the tools to navigate those situations more effectively.
More effectively. So it's really about...
It is self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Yeah, strategic thinking.
Strategic thinking.
And understanding.
And understanding.
Which is complex relationships.
Yeah, the interplay of relationships.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
We have.
The nature of power, ethics of manipulation, importance of perception, even some of the criticisms of the book.
The criticisms, yeah.
But I want to leave you with a final thought-provoking question.
Right.
So, of all these laws we talked about, which one surprised you the most, or maybe even made you a little uncomfortable, and how do you see it playing out in your own life?
That's a good one, because Grene's kind of pulling back the curtain on all these power dynamics.
Yeah. Right. Whether we realize they're there or not, but it can be kind of unsettling to think about actually using some of these tactics ourselves.
Yeah. Where do we draw the line?
Yeah, exactly, because it's one thing to notice it when other people are doing it, but do we want to be those people?
Right.
Where does ambition become manipulation?
That's the question.
That's the tension, right?
Yeah.
Because knowledge is power, but it comes with responsibility.
Yeah.
The more we learn about these laws, the more carefully we have to think about how we're going to use them, or if we even want to at all.
Because even if we don't actively choose to play the game, we're still in the game.
We're all players.
Right.
Whether it's at work, in our relationships, or just our everyday interactions.
Yeah. We're all navigating it.
We are.
Yeah. That's what makes this book so relevant.
I think so.
Right.
Even though it was written a while ago.
Right.
The human drive for power, it's timeless. And understanding these laws can help us make more conscious choices about how we engage with it.
So it's not about becoming some mastermind.
Right.
It's about being more aware.
It's about awareness.
And making more informed decisions.
Exactly. Recognizing when other people are trying to influence us, when they're trying to manipulate us.
Right.
But also being aware of how we might be influencing other people.
Right. Even unintentionally.
Even unintentionally, yeah.
So we've learned about these 48 laws.
We have.
And they're fascinating and kind of scary at the same time.
They are.
But what's the bottom line?
Use this knowledge wisely.
Okay.
And ethically.
Yeah.
Remember, power itself isn't good or bad.
Right.
It's how we use it that matters.
It's like we've been given all these tools.
It is.
And now we have to decide what we're going to build.
What are we going to build?
Are we going to use them to create something good, or are we going to use them to destroy?
That's a powerful question.
That's the challenge, isn't it?
It is.
To use our knowledge of power.
To make the world a better place.
To make a better world.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Well said. I think that's the perfect place to end.
It is.
Listeners, you've had a taste of the 48 Laws of Power.
Mm-hmm.
It's complex and challenging.
It is.
But hopefully this deep dive has given you something to think about.
Absolutely.
And some tools to navigate the game of influence with more awareness and intention.
Right.
Power dynamics are everywhere. Use this knowledge wisely.
Don't be afraid to question everything.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the most powerful move is the one that changes the game completely.